Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market, and let's figure out what is happening today on a pretty wild day for Tesla and well, I mean, essentially what we can expect moving forward. So as per usual, if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button, as it does help a lot. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor, and of course, my membership section on YouTube is live. That link, of course, is down below in the description of this video. You get access to all my intraday thoughts, posts, updates, technical analysis, options flow, etc. on Tesla every single day the market is open. So if that interests you, link is in the description below for just $3 a month. But jumping into a Tesla closing the day, fairly flat. It's only down about 0.2% on the day, which thankfully compared to the market is a bit of an outperformance. I mean, QQQ down a pretty respectable, like 1.3% for QQQ on a single day. You know, it's a decent amount of a red day, really, right? So, it's a nice thing to see. And this is kind of what I was hoping for. Remember, I was saying how my main concern was the market, right? The market is very overbought on the daily. You can see here, extremely overbought. It has now officially exited overbought conditions. It only needs a little bit more of a move to the downside to essentially reset, I guess, the index, if you will, the QQQ, right? To reset itself and no longer be overbought. Pretty much another 1% to the downside, which, may happen as early as tomorrow. But again, relative to the market, Tesla did hold up well. It was actually green for the most of the day too. So, not too bad, I guess you can say. And we did start off the day pretty nicely, right? Massive push out. We actually were on the verge of breaking out over here above this green trend line. And my main kind of, level that I've been talking about for a while that in theory has a lot of resistance and supply at the moment, which is pretty much about 187 to about 191. That $4-ish range has a lot of supply right now, right? It has a lot of resistance. We want to at the very least close at least within it, if not ideally above it, above 191. That would be ideal, which on the weekly you can kind of see, right? These wicks that have been rejecting us, pretty much this wick back here and these two recent wicks from last week and the week before, right, have been rejecting us in this general vicinity every time we've come up to this level, and today seems to be no different. So again, 187-ish to about 191-ish. That's the level to clear right now. If we do, I believe 200 to 205 is pretty much, right around the corner, honestly, if we do, clear, close, and hold above those levels. So that's the main thing I'll be looking at on a bit of a more broader scale. But unfortunately today, we did unfortunately not have a really good day to break out, right? We were on the verge of breaking out above this green trend line and the levels I just mentioned. We couldn't really do it. We were close to being overbought on the daily chart, but on the 1 hour chart, you can see in the morning, we did enter overbought territories. And I still believe once we do break out and once we do make that push for 200, we should, in theory, stay overbought, at least at one of these levels overbought, for an extended period of time, right? So far, for the last few weeks even, Tesla has been very respectable of these levels. Every time it's been overbought or oversold, it's went the opposite direction shortly after, especially on the 1 hour chart. It's been like shockingly accurate, I would even argue, right? And today, unfortunately, was no different, right? We're just still having issues really, really confidently picking a direction, if that makes sense. I still believe that we're currently working on the direction to go upwards. I still personally think 200 is more likely than a move to the downside as of right now, and I'll explain why. But, so far we're not having enough strength so that when we do get overbought, we stay overbought and we continue pushing. We're having a lot of issues with that, like the way NVIDIA did for quite some time, right? It's come back to retest and reset on the 1 hour several times as well, but ultimately it keeps going back up pretty much almost instantly every single time, or at least pretty damn often. So that's kind of what we want to see on Tesla, even though NVIDIA is kind of crashing today. I did sell some cash puts on NVIDIA today, so that's pretty nice. But nonetheless, the way I look at it is just, it's really that simple. Right now, if we go back to the daily chart, let's take a look at the daily chart one more time, and let's take a look at the overall indicators. Like, what is the overall structure on the daily chart for Tesla? Well, let's talk about it. So the MACD is still bullish, RSI neutral to bullish in my opinion. Stochastic over here, you can see still technically bullish. Again, once again flattening out a little bit, but still flip bullish. It's still flip bullish. So until that changes, it's bullish. It's that simple, really, right? So that's, all those are nice to see. In terms of the moving averages, you can see the 21 EMA, bullish. We're still above it. Nothing too concerning about that. Moving down here, we, of course, have the 100-day moving average. We're above that. We have the 50-day moving average. We're above that. We have the market bias. We're still acting as a support with it, and we're above it. It's still green. Great, right? And, of course, we have the 5 and the 13 EMA. The green is still crossed over the red. That's obviously a sign of bullish momentum as well. So all these things are still intact. And, the momentum in theory, even after today's movement, which again, granted, relative to the QQQ's performance, Tesla's holding up decently well. We're still looking pretty okay. Now, one thing to keep in mind also is the volume, right? The volume, right? Ever since we had this massive push up on increased volume, we've been doing pretty well, right? On that massive green day, it was on higher volume. And, it's pretty common that when you get these, you get a bit of a retrace. We've been getting that. Today is kind of no different, really. But all these red days, including today, are on, not ridiculously high volume, arguably less than normal or average volume. So that's a good sign, right? Whenever we're consolidating like this and kind of going sideways and we're doing it on lower volume like this, especially on the red days in a potentially bullish uptrend for this short to medium term, that's not a bad sign. So in my opinion, I still think Tesla's looking pretty damn solid. But again, you always want to pay attention to the levels. For instance, if we start losing the very low 180s to the very high 170s, well, things will start getting a little bit more less confident for the bulls at that point, right? That's where I'm going to be like raising my eyebrows a little bit and going like, maybe things aren't as good anymore as they once seemed, right? But again, that's not the case right now. And until that is the case, it's simply just not the case. So you want to wait for those confirmations, right? You want to wait for those and you want to be patient with those, right? And just really let the levels decide for you. And this is why people have, stop losses. And this is why not every trade is a winning trade. It's just a matter of, are the winning trades higher percent win than the losing trades higher percent loss, right? That's just kind of the idea behind it. But again, if you're curious what I'm doing, I did have some cash ticket puts. I did sell some cover calls. I did buy back my cover calls. I'm still holding my cash ticket puts because I'm willing to buy shares if it does continue going lower. That's kind of the situation I'm in. But speaking of tomorrow, so tomorrow is obviously Tuesday. Tuesday is known to be more often than not every single time, but more often than not a great day for Tesla. Whether or not that'll be the case tomorrow is obviously, remains to be seen. But usually Tuesdays are not the kindest to Tesla. So with that being said, because we are printing a hammer candle today, even though it's during a consolidation phase, I don't really put too much weight into that. An inverted hammer candle, I might add. There is a chance that tomorrow we do get a little bit of a sell-off, nothing crazy, maybe come down to closer to 180. I personally don't think we'll go too much lower than about 180 if we do get that continuation sell-off on that weak, typical Tesla Tuesday. Would not shock me, but I don't expect it to go much lower than that. I do expect it to hold around that level, especially if the market continues to selling off, to reset that. Remember I told you the QQQ to fully reset the QQQ here, which would be somewhere around the, 470-ish level for QQQ, for instance, right? So, if that were to happen, maybe Tesla comes down to about 180, maybe still holds relatively well to the market. But as long as these levels hold, again, like I said, we're above all those major indicators that I mentioned, market bias, moving averages, EMAs, etc. Right? We're still above all those. We're still crossed to the bullish side. And honestly, I think the next real target, if we do break above this, which I still expect us to, 187 to 191, I personally believe about $200 is still that target. For instance, if I go ahead and switch this to the 200-day moving average, you can see where this is sitting at, which should be our main resistance point. Currently sitting at 207. So by the time we do finally make our way back up there, this should roughly coincide with about this 205 to 200 level, kind of meet us somewhere around there, and most likely act as a resistance. And that's still kind of what I'm personally expecting as of right now for Tesla. So regardless though, thank you so much for watching. By the way, don't forget, next week Tesla does have delivery numbers coming out. Maybe that could be the catalyst that sends us upwards. We'll see, of course. But before I do forget, Ashley, options flow pretty bullish for Tesla today, right? For the most part, let's see if anything changed here. No, NVIDIA is definitely by far the most bearish. But, we had some nice bullish calls come in, especially towards the end of the day. We had a 185 call come in for Tesla July 5th. So what is that? Next week's Friday, right? Came in at 184.31. What the price was at 184.31. So they're technically down on these shares, or not these shares, but these calls right now. But I'm assuming they're holding it. And, we'll see. It's a pretty sizable print, right? Almost $1 million, right? 824,000. So that's a lot, right? On top of that, we also had 3 orders of about $600,000 in premium, so about 1.8 million come in over here. 350 strike, but of course, it is a leap for the year 2026 December. So it is quite far away, but that is quite an out of the money strike as well for these calls, which is great. Cheddar flow, a lot of option selling happened today. Some cash secure puts over here as well, including this 300,000 cash secure put for this Friday, 175, which is nice to see. But I don't expect us to go lower than 175 by this Friday. I'd be pretty surprised if we do, honestly, but we'll see. But ultimately, there have been some cash or some cover calls being sold over here on Shutterflow that it is being shown to me as well. So if you're interested in using these softwares, by the way, I have a link to both of them down below with a discount for Shutterflow and for Blackbox, so definitely check it out. The other thing I want to mention is this. This is interesting. So Fairly Strategies, I'm personally not aware of who exactly they are, but essentially they are expecting Tesla to have a counter trend rally in the weeks ahead. So essentially what they're saying here is the fact that this is the weekly chart, cyclical downtrend with price declining, with price below declining trend following gauges like the 200-day moving average and the weekly cloud model, but it appears to have found its footing after a hard test of support from the April 2023 lows near 152. So essentially what they're saying is this is, I believe, the Ichimoku cloud that they're using, right? And they're saying that Tesla has room to go up higher to essentially come back into resistance zone of the Ichimoku cloud on the weekly candles, or the weekly chart rather, which is going to be somewhere around, the low to like $200 to $220 per share, which I still think is possible. I think 220 roughly is possible within, the several weeks to come, maybe by August, right? Maybe leading up into the robotaxi event. I think that's not impossible. They're saying the stochastic here, I believe it's stochastic. It seems like stochastic on the weekly time frame, room to overbought level. So they're saying that there's still more room to run. Same with the MACD, cross bullish. We've been talking about this for quite some time. And then they also talk about it on the daily chart. Same idea, Ichimoku cloud. This time we're above the Ichimoku cloud on the daily chart. 200-day moving average resistance, which we just talked about, sitting at around 207, right? We just mentioned that. Also, they're saying stochastic has room to overbought level, so there's more room upside room as well to run. And the MACD is, of course, flipped bullish. We talked about all this as well, though, right? Anyways, they seem to be thinking similar to what I am thinking right here, right now. So we'll see if that actually holds true. I definitely think Tesla looks more bullish than bearish. Personally, again, as of right now, leading into the next few weeks, we'll say. But of course, as usual, the levels will dictate that for us if we breach below the levels that I mentioned earlier. So anyways, with that being said and done, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.